voters of Maine said, we want a progressive. They did not say they want an APAC moderate. If you don't, and the DNC shoves an APAC candidate down your throat, you have my permission to not vote for them, because the Democratic Party needs to learn that it is not vote blue no matter who. It matters who.
So let's discuss some of the fallout from the Graham Platner situation, because quite hilariously, figures like Hasan Piker are really not taking it well. They're completely crashing out. It appears maybe even Graham Platner himself may not be taking it well either. There are some reports that while he suspended the campaign, he hasn't officially withdrawn. So what's going to happen there? I don't know. I'm not making promises, but let's see. You know, he has a change of heart. It would be pretty funny objectively. But ultimately, regardless, just kind of a bunch of flailing currently going on within the party. There are major questions being raised against the people within the Democrat ranks who vetted Graham Platner as a candidate to begin with, because people are basically asking, hey, how the heck did that happen? And the answer almost sort of boils down to another DEI situation, which is quite hilarious, but that's causing some internal consternation. And then it even appears that the progressive candidate, which is to say like the Graham Platner supporter favored candidate that they're trying to push at as the replacement in Maine at the convention this weekend, apparently also has very similar problems and past allegations and baggage to Platner, which is to say the Democrats, although unsurprisingly, basically cannot find like a normal person to represent them, which I also find to be hilarious. Let's talk about all of it. First, though, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. That is the best way to support our work, and it also ensures that you can stay up to date with all of the latest news and coverage. And that said, let's talk about Hasan Piker's little reaction here, because we've heard this from a lot of the progressive and socialist and communist people who are standing by Platner, which is they're trying to do the whataboutism. They think this is somehow a gotcha on Republicans, which is to say, well, you know, why should Platner have to exit the race? They're just sexual assault allegations. Look at all the Republicans with sexual assault allegations. Look at Kavanaugh. Look at Trump. Look at who's another one I'm thinking of here? Pete Hegseth. Yeah, that's the one they're going to bring up, right? And it's like, okay, but here's the thing. Do you understand? We never created the standard of believe women. You did. That's exclusively always been a Democrat slogan. That's something Republicans have always rejected. We've always said, believe evidence. Hey, is it proven in a court of law? Is there substantial evidence? No, she's just saying it. Okay, no reason to believe her, because obviously that so conveniently, as we warned you years ago during the Kavanaugh thing, can easily just be used as a attack weapon against anyone politically you're trying to sabotage, which is why we rejected it as an actual moral standard at the time. But you didn't listen, because at the time, as it so often goes, that was benefiting you because Kavanaugh was the one to be confirmed. And so you could say, oh, well, look at what Christine Blasey Ford says. We should believe women. We should believe what they say. And now they're basically mad at us for some reason that their moral standard was applied to their own people, right? Instead of Republicans, which I guess is how it's supposed to work. But here's the thing. You can accuse all you want, but at the end of the day, it's not any issue of Republicans being hypocritical. Republicans never thought believe women was supposed to be a thing in the first place. You guys did. You're mad at us because you got taken down by your own standards. What does it even have to do with us? It's Democrats who made you drop out, right? So it's actually quite delusional. But still, nonetheless, let's take a listen here as Hasan Piker proceeds to melt down at us because the Democrat Party basically did, you know, whether there's truth in it or not, still objectively in many ways, right? A political hit job to take down a guy that, you know, they liked, that he liked. But still, let's not forget, this is really the fault of Trump and Republicans. Even when it has nothing to do with us, it's our fault.
Bro, you would think this is the wokeness hour and not fucking Hitler's favorite television broadcast, Fox News. Fox News is rape TV, okay? It's the pro-rape network. The candidates that it puts forward and defends, many of which are rapists, the hosts, some of the most prominent hosts on the network, were such prolific rapists.
Well, I'm going to stop right there. Already a legally actionable statement, I would argue. But beyond that, here's actually Hasan Piker still doing the exact same thing. Because name me who's been criminally convicted in court of rape, right? You're not going to bring that up, but you're going to say, oh, there were allegations against this person and that person and so. Okay, so therefore you call them rapists. But then when someone accuses Graham Platner, Hasan Piker, using your exact standard, right? If someone just comes out and brings allegations, it must be true. Then you're upset. And apparently we're the hypocrites. No, we're not the hypocrites here, right? All we have argued is that your moral standards should apply to you. That's exactly what happened. But let's hear him crash out and explain again why it's the Republicans' fault. By the way, another note I'd like to make on this. It was actually us that were rooting for you, right? We wanted Graham Platner to stay in the race. We were saying, hey, do not drop out because we thought he'd be easier to beat. So don't look at us and blame us. We wanted to keep Graham Platner. Your party took him out. You would think the anger should be directed as, let's say, the Democrat establishment. Shouldn't you be trying to tear them down, right? But no, like the typical progressive, as they do every single time, they just bend over for the establishment after claiming to fight it, right? Absolutely no spine, absolute cowards. And at the end of the day, always go to, oh, Republicans are the enemy, even when the Democrat establishment just robbed us. This happened in 2016, happened in 2020. Arguably now it's even happening with Platner because this all goes down. Who does Hasan Piker blame? He's not blaming the DNC. He's blaming freaking Fox News, Trump, and the Republican Party. They're beyond helping. What else can I say? But anyways.
Okay. The idea that this is now all of a sudden these fucking liberal blowhards endlessly pontificating about the dangers of sexual violence and sexual assault. They're one step removed from starting to talk about fucking rape culture. One of their rapist hosts is now the fucking Secretary of War. Pete Hegseth also has a Nazi tattoo on his motherfucking chest. A Nazi tattoo that actually got dinged by the National Guard, which stopped him from participating at the inauguration as security detail. Something he wrote about in a motherfucking book.
Okay. Well, again, first of all, legally actionable, not something you should say because, again, calling someone a rapist, not even an alleged rapist, but just a rapist based on allegations that never made it to past criminal court or anything like that. Something, Hasan, frankly, I think you should be pretty careful about. But still, right? Okay, according to you, allegations equal rapist. If you've been accused, therefore you must be a rapist. Okay. Graham Platner's a rapist by your standards, dude. Like, what are we talking about here? And again, by the way, second thing I should note. It's not a Nazi tattoo. It's a freaking Jerusalem cross. So strike two there, buddy, right? We have actual SS symbol versus Christian cross, not the same thing, but according to the actual position of leftists, yeah, they are the same thing. If you self-profess to be a Christian, you are obviously a Nazi. That's what these people actually believe. Shouldn't be surprising, but just another note I would make there. But then again here, folks, thirdly, yeah, get mad at Trump being president if you want. Get mad at Hegseth being the Secretary of War if you want. But I repeat, Republicans have said the entire time, the standard should not just be believe women. If it's not credible, if there isn't evidence, if it can't be tried in court or whatever, then we're not going to play this game all day because clearly we could do this with anyone. Anyone can accuse things of anyone of anything. Women absolutely lie all the time. Yeah. We're that, though. That's not going to stop us from saying this person should be in office. It does happen on your side, yet you say nothing, right? Did you defend Hegseth? No. You didn't want him confirmed. Did you defend Kavanaugh? No. Did you even defend people on your own side? Like, let's say Eric Swalwell, who I guess is a little more establishment or whatever, fine. But even people like that, who got taken down from your party by the same exact thing. No. But suddenly now, the standard you're still to this very moment upholding and defending, suddenly when it gets used against you, right? Believe women, rape culture, all this. Oh, yeah. Call the Republicans the hypocrites. No, I think I think I see the real one sitting in front of us, looking like some, I don't know what the heck he's wearing here, but anyways, you get the point, right? You get the point. So, but that is currently the meltdown that they're having, right? It's the Republicans who are the hypocrites. I don't know. Seems to me you should be mad at other people than, let's say, Republicans who were trying to keep Graham Platner in the race, if we're being honest. But just a theory I have. But anyways, that's happening on one hand now, quite hilariously as well. What I'd like to show you is a recent interview done with the people who apparently vetted Graham Platner to run as a Democrat candidate, because a lot of questions are being raised here as well. How did that absolute disaster take place? Well, take a listen to what they had to say.
And why did you?
We paid a nice firm a whole chunk of money and got some stuff back. Some of what you've seen on the news we got back. Other stuff we didn't.
Did the vetting process turn up the tattoo that became so controversial?
No.
The Reddit posts, did that turn up in the vetting process?
The firm sent us a thing, and it had some of the posts, but it didn't have all of them.
Well, I mean, given this is who the Democrats put in charge of vetting, it shouldn't exactly be surprising to anyone. They were completely useless at their jobs, right? I mean, these people are the archetype of millennial HR department, kind of like DEI aligned type of bureaucrats. Oh, of course. Oh, you mean to tell me those two characters right there couldn't do their job, right? Big surprise. And here's the thing. I'm sure they're never going to have a job in politics ever again. I'm sure that Democrats will fish for somebody else, but they have the same hiring model, These two people, if you ever look at like Democrat staffers, who's running the DNC, who's working behind the scenes, it's all people like that right there. I swear I've seen these two people before, just, maybe slightly different faces, but it's the same story every single time. And that does kind of have to cast doubts on Democrats' future ability to find a new candidate, right? Because if we have these same characters are going to be in charge of that, and Republicans should be super fearful about it, I don't exactly know. Now, what I am cheering for and what I am enjoying is at least some level of the infighting or the reluctance to actually embrace a brand new candidate, coming, for example, from people like Joy Reid, who are basically kind of implying, hey, if it's an AIPAC candidate, which is to say Chuck Schumer and the establishment are going to choose the replacement, then that's not something we should go along with or accept, which I like to see. I hope they amplify this message. I hope Hasan does too, to all of their audiences. At the same time, I'm going to be completely honest. I've seen this story happen many different times before, where in the end, they always bend the knee. They always end up backing their person. But who knows? This is 2026. The left has become a lot more radical even in the past several years. Maybe, not to sound like a broken record or anything, but maybe, hey, who knows? Maybe this time will be different, right?
But they don't have enough time for that. It's going to be an AIPAC person. They don't have enough time. It's going to be an AIPAC person. If somebody's not in a race now, they don't have time. And the easiest person to do, AIPAC said, we got a whole bunch of people we can put in that spot. They
have, I think if AIPAC can come up with someone, so can the progressive. If there's somebody, and I don't know Maine politics well enough to know who that might be, but you cannot tell me that this is the only progressive available that doesn't take PAC money and is not going to be beholden to Israel and literally sending bombs.
Trust Chuck Schumer to find that person?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I do not trust Chuck Schumer to pick. I do not trust the DSC.
So who else is going to pick?
I do not trust them at all. I think the progressives in Maine, the same people who picked him, need to tell us who your plan B was. I hope y'all had a plan B.
Well, I guess we'll find out whether the progressives actually do follow through on this and vowing not to support one of the AIPAC candidates, because I think we can all agree there seems to be a strong indication that's exactly what's about to happen. That's who they're about to choose. Only question is, will you sit there and accept that, right? But to answer Joy Reid's question, and where this gets even funnier, these people are just such a mess. What else can we say? Is that apparently they do have a plan B. That is right. The Maine Democratic Socialists apparently have found their candidate to replace Graham Platner, and this is who they're endorsing. This is who they're pushing. Except it turns out he has a personal life not that different, allegedly, from what we know, right? This is just the Oppo research, but still, from Graham Platner himself. Allegedly, this guy threw a bottle at a woman and also allegedly committed mortgage fraud. And this is actually a person we've heard quite a bit about, who is, of course, himself Troy Jackson. And that's just what we know at the current moment. So, you know, quite hilariously, they cannot find someone normal. Who's vetting Troy Jackson, by the way? Is it the same firm that you just hired? You know, is it those two DEI HR characters? They're doing the vetting once again. What a disaster. But hey, that's how hard it is in the Democrat Party to just like find a normal freaking person.
That ask comes as the state party accuses him of trying to manipulate the replacement process. People who could potentially succeed Platner include former Maine Senate President Troy Jackson, former Maine CDC Director Nirav Shah, and Maine Secretary of State Shanna Bellows, among others. Platner's team, meantime, will likely face scrutiny over his vetting process. The New York Times reports a top Platner advisor had promised a national Democratic strategist that they would not launch a campaign without completing a full investigation of Mr. Platner's background. But according to two people familiar with the campaign's operations, no extensive effort was undertaken in one of the marquee races of the midterm cycle. They did not do exhaustive interviews with Mr. Platner.
And it sounds like they're about to do the same exact thing again. That's just so hilarious, you know, it's just watching the DNC get eaten alive themselves by DEI, right? Because you hire those characters, oh, they're going to vet, they're going to do their jobs properly. Turns out, as you see every single time, it's like a giant race hustle, or at the very least, a giant grift, but in a similar manner that we've seen to BLM, that we've seen to the Somali fraud stories a lot. Hey, here's a contract for you to do something. We're going to give you the money, and you're just basically not going to do it, right? They're going to run off with the money. And, you know, we've argued many times, actually, in many ways, that's what DEI is. That's what wokeness is. It's sort of a cover for a gigantic money laundering front, right? Because in the name of welfare or helping minorities or something, oh, here's a bunch of free money that we're basically laundering out. So pretty hilarious how that's all working. And, you know, there's this whole internal thing. Hey, it's almost cartoonish, right? How did we, like, pay these people to vet for us and they didn't vet a single thing? But at the same time, sounds like they're doing the same exact thing again, because Troy Jackson himself has a lot of issues around him. You guys are rushing to do the same exact thing. Are you having the same people vet, by the way? I'm sure you're going to switch out the team, but are you actually switching towards competent people, or does that actually not exist because you're using left-wing hiring standards? I'm just saying. But regardless, the bad news for now, at least, in terms of what we know, by the way, because it is worth noting that Platner, while he suspended his campaign, he's not officially withdrawn. So there's some speculation, hey, is he going to pull something off at the last minute? Who knows? I don't know. But still, regardless, it doesn't matter. That if this all succeeds, regardless of who the candidate was, according to you guys, according to the leftists, this was a gigantic establishment sabotage attempt. According to you, in fact, it's coming right from AIPAC. Okay. All I would encourage you then is stick to your word. You say you're not going to vote for any AIPAC candidates anymore or whatever. You're not going to allow Chuck Schumer to go steal your candidate from you. Okay. Well, stick to that word, right? Don't get behind the next person who they try to shove in your face. I'm just saying. Now, do I believe that progressives or socialists or the far left base of the party actually have the guts to do that? No, because at the end of the day, as we've explained many times, yes, there is definitely this civil war going on within the Democrat Party, but you know, at the end of the day, they do view us to be the real enemy, which is why on that front, I guess almost like leftists are more smart than conservatives, because a lot of conservative figures, as you know, in our movement right now, who are trying to say the left is not the enemy. You shouldn't unite behind your side, right? Behind your people, behind Republicans. No, we should boycott the election. We should vote for Democrats. We need to unify with the left to work against the Israel First Zionists or whatever, right? You know, like, you notice how that type of stuff is not as common on the left, because still, even the most unhinged progressive, at the end of the day, they're looking at us, they're saying, oh, that's the enemy. That's the people that we want to kill and hurt and do all those things too, right? So we're going to ultimately get behind the side that's doing that. But one can only hope, right? One can only hope that for once, the left actually sticks to their word and sticks to their guns and says, no, we take this AIPAC and Chuck Schumer thing completely seriously. And, you know, we're not going to accept what they're going to do, but I'm making a wild prediction. I think that's what's going to happen. Still, nonetheless, we will find out. But for now, at least the good news is that these people appear to be in disarray and it's a bit of a mess. And the more messy it is, the better it is for us. That said, let me know your thoughts. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. And until next time, God bless and peace.